Hello guys, welcome back to the second part of Quiet Magician. That time I was in a band. This is part 2. We focus on 2018 we are. So, buckle up. Well, it's going to be a bit more of a short one this month because it's not much stuff really to talk about with 2018. It's just an average year. It actually did improve as time went on, but we'll get there eventually. So, after our, first album was released and we did the tour as well, we just took a break we did, of course, and reconvened in January of 2018 and just started working on the new album we did, and we actually wrote some new material as well. Some bits and pieces were written on when we were touring off while we were doing our separate things and job wires and everything else. But we were just, we've written quite a few tunes as well just to start in January. Obviously, sort of a different take, of course, of different bits and pieces. More new meanings, of course, were added to our catalogue of songs, of course, like what I talked about in 2017. So, it's Quiet Magician 2. Just to talk about the name, of course, I really forgot to mention about what's the name of Quiet Magician, where it came from. It's basically the same thing what happened with Donald Glover when he got the name Childish Gambino. I typed my name in. For some strange reason, I thought, right, see what happens, and out came Quiet Magician. And actually the band liked it, of course. They really liked the name that it is, so they thought they'll choose that. He has a bit of a prog edge weird to it. You think of something like Quiet Sun or something like that, or, I don't know really, just something like that really, to be honest. There was an idea of actually, well, there's two names that we were sort of interested to do, actually. One was called Non-Applicable, which is actually the band name for a school band that I knew back in the day when most of my year were just performing cover bands, really, at the time. And I thought, a bit of interesting way of like a progression. Instead of like no returning members or anything like that, but you just keep the name, even though you can probably just take over a YouTube channel or something like that and actually post bits and pieces, rehearsal footage, and maybe a few little live performances here and there. But that never came to be. We just never chose that. There was also the Savage Fire, which was meant to be because we did the job. We and John and Ian did the album, of course. Me and John were sort of responsible for the album entirely, and thought about using the name of it as a touring band thing, of course. But didn't want to associate with what we were doing because it was more mine and John's thing that was really, and basically just just never came to be. So Quiet Magician was sailed on, and it just basically became there really. So let's go into the album, of course. So Quiet Magician 2. So this was released, of course, in March of 2018. This was. We worked on it mostly through bits and pieces, mostly through January and February, of course, due to workloads and stuff like that. Also for sailing for the new year as well. So that was one thing. And just recorded new 10 songs, of course, bits and pieces. So let's get to them. So first up, we've got a Second Alibi. Second Alibi is the opener. The meaning of this one is to do with I would say past revelations, of course, in that sort of way. Largely to do with like what secrets you've been doing, what hidden stuff, and maybe some bad stuff you've been up to or something like that. It's like just hiding, that sort of thing really. And yeah, that sort of thing, like a personal song really. Like people deep down, they've done crimes that they've committed but never told about or anything like that, off the radar and everything else. So that's the song really, Second Alibi. That's the really sort of main song. Because you see news and stuff like that in bits and pieces, of course. So which have been popped up maybe a few times over the news about during that time really. So sort of relevant to us. Track number 2 is Dream Nation. This is more of a propaganda song, of course, the way of the country, of course. Like saying, setting on a perfect world, that you wish to live in and stuff like that. That sort of thing, really. Like, again, protest, propaganda type song that is. So, probably works nicely. It does. Well, we played it most of the times, and try and make a political anthem. That's the only time we ever did a political song, really. So, that's just one of those things, really. Track 3 is In Between Women. This is more of a love song. Well, sort of a dark affair song about affairs and everything else. And it's like, yeah, well. One of those things. You have to write a song about that eventually. And also with domestic stuff as well included, domestic abuse, that sort of thing. Of course, it's very sort of more of a relatable song that is In Between Women, which is actually alright really. Track 4 is Worth Waiting For. Worth Waiting For is the The meaning of this one, yeah, I think it's like, you know, I think it's more of a pleasing song, you know, achieving goals and everything else, like worth waiting for. And that's, you know, like, just, you know, the moments here, everything else, you know. It's like a crowd pleaser song in a way. It's like, you can open on a tour or something like that. That sort of thing, and it just works nicely. It does. I mean, for the context of the album, it's just on track, just number 4, really. It didn't open the album, so never use that one, unfortunately. Well, we'll never use that sort of tactic of opening it as an album opener. I would just do the second Alibi because I thought it was interesting, really, to be honest. But it's really good to track 4, but it's alright, really. I mean, people will probably do a version of that and, you know, put that number, track 1 or something like that, you know, mess around with the album, who knows. Track 5 is called My Family, which is more of a relation to... It's more to do if... A song about, like, maybe about sinister brainwashing and stuff like that. It's like a song about Charles Manson and his family, very much, that sort of thing, really. So more of a relatable, old, historical type song, in a way just related to that type of style, really, you know, like, you know, very hard-hitting, really, that particular one. But it's alright, really, to be honest. I mean, we just wrote it because we thought, why not, you know, but a bit of a time, really, for that one. But it's alright. Track 6 is I Won't Turn My Back For You. This is more of a ballad type song, very Elton John-esque, very type ballad, you know, like, don't let the sun go down on me, that type of style, really, to be honest. Again, it's a really good song. It was played, of course, and it's sort of, again, crowd pleaser type ballad, you know, not something the way the hands in the air and stuff like that, like arena type style, of course. I mean, it's sort of a favourite amongst people, it is, that one. Most of these songs are, really, to be honest, in terms of its idea, really. But it's a good one. I Won't Turn My Back For You. And again, it's another long love song, really, of course. Again, with people going in and out of relationships and stuff like that, you know. I've seen many people do it beforehand, you know. So, like, you know, they're back with someone, then they come back, you know, they split up, then they're back again. It's an on and off type thing about on and off relationships, really. So, yeah. So that's that's a song that's sort of like, again, it's all relevant for my social life, really, to be honest. You know, with friends and everything else, going for that sort of phase. Sometimes, not most of the time. But it's alright song, good song it is. Track 7 is Do You Want to Turn Me On? So this is like a, to be honest, it's a raunchy sex song, this is, of course, you know, and that sort of thing, very funky type song, of course, played. It's very sort of like in excess type style, it is, you know, this one, and it just powers on. I can't think of like New Sensation, it's like that, really, you know, our version of New Sensation. But it's really, again, really good, and you know, it's sort of like it powers through, it does, even with its lyrical stuff, you know. It still gives a good beat, and of course, and it has like FM radio hits single all over it, but the lyrics are a bit, yeah, very raunchy and you know, trying to be, you know, trying to be, well, not be censored or anything like that sort of thing, but it's really, it's there, really. Well, track 8, Mr. Jones. Funny comedy song, really, to be honest. You know, if you think of like interesting Loipen songs, you think of like Oasis with Dixie's Dinner, you know, you think of just, again, songs that have like a funny meaning, very much like about a particular character that they've met or maybe just imagine, really. That's what Mr. Jones is, really. Very, you know, very Loipen, funny song, of course. Lots, quite a good of humour, because that's what we did was to just add a bit of humour to that song, you know. And it works nicely, it does. Very bouncy in places as well, so. But it's good, so I do enjoy that one. Track 9 is People. People, not to be confused with the King Crimson song People by, you know, Engine Blues song, of course. Just more to do with, it's a song about society, really. Again, sort of like a political type society song, very much, you know, stuff like in the vein, or, you know, in the vein of Dream Nation, of course, but it's more to do with people and societies and everything else, like the meaning of people changing and everything else, you know, people's own views and stuff as well, that sort of thing, really. You know, people are wrong, people are high, people are soft, I don't know. Really, it takes pot shots at certain types of people, of course. People are sensitive, people are just, you know, it goes on for that sort of thing, really. You know, just again, take a stab at, you know, maybe the UK population and stuff like that, you know. But it's just there really. Maybe just play it again, of course. And track 10 is Plastic Girl. Sort of again, sort of another funny song, of course, involving people, again, sort of taking the piss out of cosmetics and foundations, plastic surgery, people with Botox and stuff like that. You see people these days, if you look at people my age, of course, they're basically just like very plastic face, if you know what I mean. You know, that sort of thing, all plumped up lips and everything else, and also foundation, that sort of thing. It seems, why do you need that? Of course, to make it look glamorous, but it look fake. And that's sort of the song that addresses, you know. And it works nicely, it does. You know, I've met a few nice women who are basically just normal and just don't really, they wear a little bit of foundation, but it's made for the skin, really, to be honest. But you see women and they go overboard, really. So there's a song about that, of course. That's taking the piss out of the people we've met, who are sort of like more doll-like and very tan, very Oompa Loompa-esque, if you know what I mean. Yeah, so it's basically a piss take, really. You know, piss take song. But it's good. You know, a bit of an interesting way to close the album, but which is there, really. And yes, again, when it was released, of course, in March, it did very well as well. Forgot to mention there was no singles released. We didn't even release any standalone singles in between either, so we only just did the songs that we would just go for the albums, of course. So no standalone in between songs or anything like that. Or singles, no B-sides or anything like that. So just the album tracks, really. And they weren't released as singles either. So there was more of a album art form. You know, you present the album and you just pick your favourite songs, really, to be honest. That's how we worked. That is how we worked in the band. So after releasing the second album that we did, released back in March, John decided, second leg of the tour. And for once, we actually did proper. I think that this leg in 2018 was the best. Really good stuff. Really good venues, actually, that John picked out. Interesting series as well. Because we started out in Manchester first. John basically said we're going to start in Manchester first because we built a reputation, we released 2 albums, we travelled bits and pieces around, a few different cities, and now I've secured a venue so we can play in Manchester, so that's pretty good. So we started from Manchester, we went to Birmingham as well, which was fantastic, really good. Sunderland was another one, Southend was another one, Glasgow was another one that we actually did, which is great, really good stuff on there. Yes, I really thought it was pretty good. I mean, with the material as well that we recorded, really good stuff. We were on fine form. We were, our performances, of course, really, the crowds were sort of getting into it, of course. Playing stuff for the first album and the second album, of course, really good stuff. I think Glasgow was one of the highlights, of course. We finished the tour in Brighton. We did in. Again, October as well. We saw our touring thing. Our touring cycle is very much like something like in May, or to maybe October, really. That sort of thing, really. So afterwards we have a few months break off, then we come back in January, and then we do same old stuff again. Doing the same thing again. That's our process with the band, really. So it was pretty good. Again, pretty good. No people weren't jumping on the stage this time. Like Morrissey, the Midas Touch type business, like everyone does, like the male fans do. There was nothing like that at all. People grabbing, all the girls or anything like that. But again, really good stuff. We sort of gained more recognition. We again supporting. We were like on bills. We were supporting a few different acts, of course, around the cities, of course. Again, yeah, pretty good stuff. Really good, interesting things. So the tour was going well, and one thing to mention about the tour was, I think during that time, of course, one thing that we never knew about the girls of Lisa, Sarah, Rachel, and Meg, when they come on stage, they sort of come on very full of energy and high as a kite. They are very much like bounce up and down, just getting that energy of what we just play. I think that's sort of a highlight really for the band, really, for that one. You look at these 4 front women just prance around singing, and that sort of thing, like they're basically high as a kite. In actual fact, they were. When they came to England, they smuggled in pot or grass, whatever, or weed or marijuana, very much. They've been doing that since they were in LA in college, and they sort of brought it to the band. They did. Us lads, we never touched the stuff, which is thankful. We never touched stuff. John never did either. alcohol was more our thing, really, to be honest. You know, caffeine, that sort of thing. But marijuana, no, God no, you know, and that's all. In actual fact, it's all started very much towards like this last leg of the tour in 2017. That they sort of went off for a bit, you know, did a little break. We did some in some times we did some improvised stuff like jamming and stuff, really, like what bands do. Like if the singer just wants a little rest or something like that, the band just keeps jamming or invents something, really. So we did a bit of that, really, and towards the last bit of the tours, very much of 2017, and more so on here as well in 2018. Even though they were fantastic, the shows were great. You know, we had a good time doing those 10 venues we did in those 10 cities. You kind of feel like it's, you know, it's sort of dwindling. It is like it's, you know, even 2018 is meant to be the best time for the best performances, you know, of that time. So yeah, one other than marijuana, actually, you know, they were sort of taking speed as well, a little bit of speed and a little bit of ecstasy as well. Because when we did Manchester, there was a few people looking around that were backstage and stuff. Of course, we never saw them briefly, but I think the girls sort of bought themselves into the ecstasy type style and into the speed as well, just to keep themselves going, really. You know, I think, you know, with them, I think they were sort of like with the weed and stuff, you know, the hash and everything else. It's like, you know, it's not really, you know, it's sort of like more than giving them more powerful energy, really. So they think, let's just try these, let's do this stuff, really. You know, I'm surprised they never made out to cocaine or heroin, actually, or heroin especially. They never did that, but they did use, you know, low speed and ecstasy as well in the process. I'm surprised they never damaged their brains to do it. Blimey, they're probably just gone out of it most of the time. I'm surprised they never were full-blown casualties afterwards. It's like, thank God for that. But it really started to get more so. I think towards the end when we did Brighton as well, they were more and more going off stage, everything else. You'd think, you know, just like make an excuse. They just basically went off stage, and we were just left on the stage playing, well, which is not a problem to us because we, you know, the six of us just managed. John was a bit, I think towards the end, of course, he was starting to get a bit frustrated on what they were doing. Of course, you know, it's basically, yeah, you're supposed to be on stage, fucking stage, and that sort of stuff. You can hear him blaring out. You can hear him. You can hear his shouty voice with them. And I feel that's the backstage. This is the last gig. This is of 2018. You can really tell that he wasn't happy at all, considering, you know, what has come to very much, and basically, you know, it's basically that's. I think at that point it's all signaled the end, really. To be honest, even though I'll get into what else happened in the following year, very much, but you could tell they were sort of against him, really, in this place. And once they come back on stage, they're a bit sort of like, you know, they carried on, but they started giving like some weird, strange, daring looks, really, to be honest. And they were sort of like, you know, they were sort of there, but they sort of, you could tell they weren't really up, you know, they weren't really into it, of course, after the whole argument with John and everything else. I mean, John said to me, of course, you know, he basically went to see the dressing room. They were busy doing stuff. I think because, you know, because they wanted a bit of a fix, really, to get a bit more high. I think because the high sort of went quickly with them. I think because of smoking too much weed and stuff. You know, they sort of moved into the ecstasy tablets, of course, and basically, you know, he sort of caught them towards the encore, really. When we were sort of like playing, getting ready for the encore, he walked into their dressing room, and basically, when they were dressing or getting prepared, it was basically, you know, they were doing that sort of stuff. It was like, and he just blew his head off, really, with them. It's like, he didn't want to be responsible because he was so imaginous. He didn't want to be taken down by the police or be found out. He'll be responsible for charges and stuff like that, for anything like that. You know, it could be all his fault. He can have it all on his head, on his shoulders. So he sort of went into a bit of a stricken anger type panic, very much with them. And he just told us at the end, really, like, you know, that's, you know, they need to stop. They do. They need to stop. They need to quit. You know, that's all. I think he was very red in the face. You know, you can tell that is, you know, that is sort of like, you're seeing red lights. you're seeing red lights, you are, with John at the minute. I never seen him like that before, ever. Because I've known the man, I've known him for about, by this point, for about 3 years, very much. Like, I've known him since 2015. But I've never seen him like that mad before. Really, he was really frustrated. The band were sort of just like very just, we were just okay. We were just like really a bit confused on what to do very much at that point. But I think that was really about it, to be honest, with the whole event and everything else, and everyone else went away, really, And from that point, that Brighton gig, that did signal the end, really. Well, not really. It's the end it did, because I'm going to the third part about this, into the following year. But that signaled the end for Choir Magician.